Coming up on today's episode of the Real Lives podcast.
Your mental health should be taken as serious as your physical health. I've noticed such a massive difference from I started properly training again in the gym. My mental health is just I've noticed definitely a steady incline from being back at the gym. One thing that I noticed about when I went to my GP, they're so quick to just throw medication at you. For that part of my life, definitely. From literally that whole time in school from 1st to 5th year, I was not myself. I was kind of always hating this part of myself, the next thing or something better. You can find gratitude and happiness just with where you are now and with what you have now.
On today's episode, I have on who I would consider a good friend now, Curtis Rainey. Curtis is from Belfast, and I came across him on Instagram as he has a page which is dedicated to mental health and spreading awareness of mental health and just talking through his really. And I just thought it was a great resource where he provides certain resources for, different things, different problems, talking about his issues. So it just makes it feel like more of a normal conversation, which is the kind of thing that I want to push, especially in the next year on this podcast. And you know what? I flew over to Belfast a couple of weeks ago to film it with him, and it was such a great day. Met him in the morning, and straight away we just sort of clicked and had a in-depth conversation about mental health and stuff. And we went for a run, met a couple of his friends as well. I'm hoping to get on the podcast in the coming months, which would be good if I fly back to Belfast. And yeah, we had a conversation in the podcast about all things mental health, Curtis's journey with it, my journey with it. We spoke about different resources you can use to help sort of better your mental health. We talk about normalizing it, making it part of normal everyday conversation, and it shouldn't be such a taboo subject to bring up. We also talk about Curtis's journey through school, him coming out as gay, and how he sort of built it up in his head to be something that it wasn't. And because like I said, if it's good people around you, those people won't care, and they'll just be happy for you to be you. And we got onto other topics such as his weight loss journey. He lost a hell of a lot of weight, and I keep saying to him, I can't believe he had that amount of weight on him at one point. And we talk about how physical health affects mental health, because he is also a big advocate of physical health will exponentially improve your mental health. If you can improve your physical health, along that way will come a better mental health. And there's a big push for getting people into therapy and stuff, but also I believe that training and finding a form of activity for yourself, it doesn't have to be intensely active. It just could be going for a walk. Just doing something will be much better for your mental health than nothing, and it's a free resource to do. So yeah, we had an amazing conversation, and I hope you enjoy this one with Curtis. You can find all his links down in the description below, and go support him where you can. And also remember to please like, subscribe, share the podcast, and also give it a rating or review on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, as it helps us reach broader audiences and it means I can bring more and more guests on each week. So if you're enjoying the podcast, please do that, and I hope you enjoy this episode with Curtis. Welcome onto the Real Life
Thank
podcast.
you very much for having me.
Let's start off with who you are and what you do.
So my name's Curtis. I work in learning development for the Belfast Trust, and yeah, I have a wee mental health sort of well-being.
A wee one.
Yeah, well, so it actually, funnily enough, it actually started out. So do you know about Slimming World?
Yeah.
So it actually started out years ago. It started out as a wee Slimming World page. So it's what I would have used to track my weight loss and stuff, and then I kind of just stopped doing that, and then I was kind of thinking about wanting to do more stuff with mental health, and I kind of just overtook that, and then that's kind of what it came to be today. So it's just kind of all about promoting a safe place for just people to be open and realistic about mental health, and actually have had a lot of people reach out to say that the content and stuff on it has helped them and stuff. So doing something right.
Well, this is it. When I saw your page, I absolutely loved it, because it was it was real, and it was just because we were saying before, just there's some pages that are just over the top and a bit. It feels all fake. It just feels like they're doing it because that's the trend to do it now. Whereas yours was very much you're just like, I'm having a shit day, or this is a good day, or if you feel like this, do this sort of thing. And that's what I really liked about it. But let's get into that, like your sort of journey with mental health and why you then started this page in the first place.
How did we kick it off? So I think childhood trauma. No, I'm joking. Why I kind of wanted to start it. I think I properly started using it. It was during lockdown, maybe the year before lockdown. And I would consider myself like quite a creative person as well. Like I'm into like design, and like that's part of like what I do, and like my job at the minute is like design and stuff and helping with that. So I kind of just wanted like a bit of a creative outlet as well, but I kind of just been like going through like a lot. I think it was like the end of November 2020. I'd mentioned this to you earlier, but I was kind of like, I was pushing like 17 and a half stone. Just unhealthy and unhappy. So I think around that time I went to like, it was when I finally actually got diagnosed. I actually got like a GAD, so a generalized anxiety disorder diagnosis, and depression. That was kind of like the end of 2020 sort of thing. And then after that I was like kind of like in and out of counselling, and like some of it was working, like some of it wasn't working for me. Like it was all kind of like trial and error, on and off like antidepressants and stuff like that. And I think I just wanted to talk more, and I guess I probably could have done it on like my own Instagram page, but I kind of just wanted a place where I could just be open and honest, and kind of like just have like good conversations with maybe like people that were going through like the same thing, or like struggling with their mental health. So that's basically how we kicked it off.
It's a weird one in Instagram because it's so fake on so many levels.
So fake, and also so competitive.
And like mine was, so this is like, so like I was saying to you last year, like I'd had like just went through a really shit period, and basically because I'd moved to Melbourne, everyone kind of thought that like everything was fine, because like I'd post a story of like going out and about, and there was like one day and I was just like, fuck it, I'm just gonna like, not trauma dump, but like basically I put a post that was, it was essentially along the lines of
just being honest.
Everything looks fine, but it's not. Like, and it's all right for it to not be. Because it was, like when I was going through what I was going through, it was like I felt so alone, and even when I was going through that and feeling so alone, I was like, I never want my friends to feel like that. I want them to feel like they can have, that they can just call me or message me and just be like, I'm not all right, or like, even if they're just like, oh, how are you, because they just want to chat to someone. I wanted that, and it was like basically it's all right to not be okay. Just reach out to people and stuff, and I like doing that was like, because it was on my own Instagram, like I had so many mates then reach out, and it was
reached out to you. That's so nice.
And it was like it was something that like you don't want to do it on your own Instagram because it's like you do want to keep it like clean and nice, and but it was, I was like, you just gotta fucking do it. But
you just have to be honest at the end of the day.
And it's like on yours, you know, where like it's just, everything's just so honest, and like you know some of the stories you do where you're like, I've had a shit week this week, and that's what I love about it. But how did you find becoming so open in the first place about it? Like, did you struggle with actually just putting yourself out there?
I don't think so. Like, because like you had said about like friends and stuff like that, I feel I'm quite lucky in the sense that I have a good network of friends around me, and like I know we all joke, but like your friends are like your free therapists at times, and we're all quite open and honest with each other, so I'm kind of like used to like having those conversations. And another big reason why I wanted to start the podcast in the first place was, I think especially in Belfast, like I don't know, it's gotten better, but there's definitely still this stigma attached to like talking about mental health and like being open about it. And I think maybe at the start I was a wee bit worried about like, are people going to think that I'm like being attention seeking, or do you know, that sort
Yeah.
of thing. And I think I kind of just got to the point where I was just like, the reason I want to do this is because I want to make it a safe space for like just people to be open, and if I maybe like help like one person that's going through something similar. And I think as well, I had also went through a stage where I was kind of just like educating myself a lot more about
Yeah.
like mental health and wellness, and I was like reading a lot of material, and there was like a lot of good information that I would like, that was literally, I'm not even joking, that was like changing my life and just making me a better person, just like helping me understand my feelings a lot more, and just like depression, anxiety in general. And I think it was just like a, why wouldn't I share this with people,
Yeah.
sort of thing. So
Yeah, because this I feel like when you're in that headspace, it's very hard to do the research, because
yeah,
like it's so hard to explain to someone what it's
depression
like.
sucks.
It's fucking awful.
Yeah.
Like I remember days where I would just be like, I'd get up, I'd be like, I just don't
Can't
want.
do
I don't want
this.
to be awake. Like I
Get
just,
that.
and it'd be a task to go downstairs. Like I remember after I'd had surgery, I was like,
Is this the knee surgery?
yeah, there was like, I think there was a 2 or 3 day period where I just didn't eat, and my brother was like, "What?" He's like, "When did you last eat?" I was like, "I don't know." Like every day just merged into one,
Blurry, yeah.
and you like your brain's just switched off.
Yeah.
Like you, simple tasks that I do,
Kind of like you're going through the motion sort of thing. Like you're there, but you're not there.
Yeah.
You're not present.
well, you'd have conversations with people, and you would like,
Can you remember them?
yeah,
Yeah, I
and
get that.
it's one of those where when people are in that headspace, it's so hard to actually do the research, do the work.
Yeah.
But it is a pivotal part of it that you have to do, and I think it's having those resources like your Instagram, where someone could just be scrolling and they see that thing that they need that day,
Yeah.
and you've just given them that little bit of a push to like,
Yeah.
oh, I could try this or try that sort of
Yeah.
thing.
I think lately, like I was doing counselling there. It was for about 3 months. And I was quite open about that, like on my stories and stuff like that. And I would say, I feel like counselling, 100%, like therapy, whatever, it's such a good tool for you to like understand, not even what you're going through. Yes, it helps you understand what you're going through, but just understanding yourself
Yeah.
a lot better, I think, is like such a big thing to do with it. And like I've actually had like a lot of moments in counselling where I've had like wee light bulb moments, like
Yeah.
going back and forward with the counsellor, and I was like, oh, so that's why I'm triggered, or oh, like that's why I am the way I am.
I like fully get that. Like with, remember when I was in Melbourne, like this is a good thing that people should know as well, is that if you're at university and you're struggling with something, it's more likely than not that the university offers free counselling.
Yeah.
And it's actually more easily accessible than it is like if you have to go through the GP. Like
Oh, you'd be waiting. I don't think I've ever, anytime I've been through counselling, it's been through like
private.
not even private, but just like stuff in the community that you can sort of avail of, because
Yeah.
the waiting lists just are
It's a joke.
ridiculous.
Like mine, I remember I went to the uni, I found out they had the wellbeing service, and within 2 days I had an appointment.
You had an appointment,
And
so good.
I was so lucky, to be fair. Like there was I did one guy who was private, and I just didn't click. It was also like the Zoom thing, and also the way he was listening, I was like, I feel like you're just taking the piss.
Yeah.
And then there was this woman, Adriana, who I would see in Melbourne, and she was just a lifesaver.
Yeah.
Just there was something about her. It wasn't even anything she said, but she was just so good at listening, and she helped lay out things in ways that I just couldn't see, and that's what's so good about it, I think,
Yeah.
is that they're
They
seeing
just
it from
help
that-
you look at it in a different point of view. I feel
Yeah.
like because you have that, not conception, but you have that perception of like how you're feeling in your head, and
Well, you've got blinkers on, haven't you?
yeah, do you know what I mean? And you're ignoring advice from like other people, but it takes actually having to sit down with someone and them explain it like to you, which I think like helps so much. I think as well, especially with like therapy, like therapy and counseling, there's just so much different like variables, I feel like, play into like whether you're gonna have a good experience or a bad experience. Like I actually so it wasn't long after like I had my depression diagnosis, and because the waiting lists were so long, I actually did pay one time to go private. That was the first and last time I actually paid to go private. And it was just it was a wee place over by Queen's University. I had found this girl on a website. I think it was like £25-30 or something for like a private session. And I remember like going, it was like in this building, and you went up like 3 flights of stairs. And I mean, the building itself was absolutely roasting. So like the sweat was like running off me, and you're already nervous enough. Like, do you know what I mean? That was like my first proper experience, like going to like counselling or anything.
Yeah.
And I just remember going into like this room, and it was obviously a room. It didn't belong to her. It was just a place that like she had rented out. And I went into this room on this top floor, absolutely like heating on, and it was literally just these 2 chairs in this room, like not a thing on the wall, like nothing.
Yeah.
And it just felt so like cold and like impersonable. And I feel like with counselling and stuff, like a lot of people may go to counselling and like maybe have like a bad experience, and then they're like, right, okay,
Yeah.
that's it, like it's never going to work for me. But I feel like you need to really be open to the fact that like it's not always going to work out like first or second time around. Like if you're really serious about it, you need to kind of persevere with it, and like hopefully you may click with that counsellor. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, because it is one of those things that there's 1,000,001 counsellors out there, and it's likely that 1,000,000 of them aren't going to be for you.
Yeah.
But it's when you find the one, everything. Like I remember when I was going, it was a bit. I was kind of just. I was in that part of the depression where like I was never diagnosed with it, but it was so severe.
Yeah.
And I was like, I knew it, so which is I never went and got diagnosed because I was like, I know exactly what this is.
Yeah, you know what it is.
But I would go in, and I was in that headspace where she'd say something, I'd be like, what are you doing? Like, you know, when you just don't want to accept anything. And it was so negative. And then I remember there was like this one session I had with her where she said, what was it she said? And it was basically, I was trying to please everyone, but I wasn't trying to please myself. And I was like, you're so fucking right.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, you are so right. And from that moment, I was like, I just had that rapport with her then. It was like, she gets it.
Yeah.
And once you have that moment with someone, it changes the way the therapy, like, it can take 3 months to make 1% gain. But once you've made that 1% gain, it's instantly like, it's take off from there.
I think as well, people need to look at it, the likes that like you're investing in yourself. Like, I feel like a lot of people feel like, and it's probably those people that feel like this, that like I don't need to go to counselling or I don't need to go to therapy, that probably do need it.
I think everyone should go.
Like, you're literally investing in yourself. I agree. Like, I think everyone should.
Just to jump in here in the middle of the podcast, because if you've got this far, you're clearly enjoying the episode. So just go give it a like. And also subscribe to the channel on YouTube, as about 90% of people who watch the podcast don't actually subscribe. And also leave a rating and review on Spotify if you could, because that would be absolutely amazing and I'd appreciate it hugely. So enjoy the rest of this episode.
If
we go to the gym, we're looking after our physical health, but what are people doing for the mental health?
I did a post about this like lately, about like that's how it should be looked at. Your mental health should be taken as serious as your physical health. Like, we speak so openly like about your knee injury, for example. Like, we talk so openly about like physical injuries. Like, why are we not doing the same about like our mental health?
Well, it's like when literally, because we met this morning like at the coffee shop, within 20 minutes we were talking about this stuff, and it's like,
it felt really natural, didn't it? It felt just normal.
But it's that thing of like, because I see it as so normal, you see it as so normal, it's no issue. Like, whereas a lot of people see it as like, as if you're trauma dumping on them, but you're not. It's just being open.
You're just
and
having
honest.
An open conversation, exactly.
And like, I feel it's getting better. It's getting more to where it should be, but there's so much more that can still be done in terms of like supporting people when they're going through the issues.
Definitely. I feel like mental health, especially in Northern Ireland, it's severely underfunded. And I feel like, especially in like where I come from, like West Belfast, there's a lot of like there's a lot of crime, and there's like the suicide rates would be a bit higher than normal, and I feel like you have people that want the help, but they maybe just don't know how to go about getting it, or like they finally like build up the courage to go to their doctors. And I think one thing that I noticed about like when I went to my GP, they're so quick to just throw like medication at you.
Yeah.
They're so quick to be like, right, you're going on these. And don't get me wrong,
They've got the place.
yeah, they like I've been on and off like antidepressants and stuff like for maybe the past 3 or 4 years, and I've had like good experiences, I've had bad experiences. I think the thing with antidepressants, and I was taking like medication for anxiety and stuff, antidepressants give you that like the get up and go to just go and like do your daily tasks and what have you, but you're not really addressing the issue. And I would have found that there was times like when I was on antidepressants that like I'm a big crier. I'm such a big advocate for crying. Like I love a cry, and I felt like there was times like I couldn't cry when I was on it. Like they made me a bit numb to things sometimes, and like I'm not on anything at the minute because I'm just kind of like in that mindset where I just want to feel everything that I'm going through at the minute. But yeah, I think doctors and GPs are so quick to just, right, you're going straight on to like medication, and like that's the answer for them.
It's just, to me, it's baffling that GPs are like, it's like the whole pain thing. Like I've obviously spoken to these opioid experts over the past few weeks, and it baffles me that like when I had my surgery, I was giving codeine for the pain.
Yeah.
And they said to me, I said, why are you giving me this? Because I won't take anything. If I don't need it, I will not take it. And you were like, take it in case you're in pain. I was like, what do you mean in case I'm in pain? Like, that's like, so I'm going to block the pain. I'm not going to know what the pain feels like. So then I'll never know when to take it and when to not take it. And so I never took it. And I was like, because I was like, that, I couldn't believe a health professional was telling me to mask something. So imagine the people who don't have because for me, I'm fascinated by physiology. So I've learned about the pain receptors and how they work and stuff. And that's why I was like, no, I'm not doing that. But people who aren't knowledgeable in that area, and they're like, yeah, sure. And it's the same with like anxiety medication, depression medication. I think it's got its place.
Definitely has its place.
But it's the way they sort of go.
Overprescribed.
Yeah, it's that thing of, just take this. Maybe see a counsellor in a year.
Yeah.
But for the next year, you stay in this place and you just take these and coast.
It's like you're not actually addressing. It's like you're putting like a band-aid over a bullet hole, essentially. Like you're not actually addressing like the underlying issue.
This is it. And I think there's got to be more of an emphasis from GPs on physical health, because I think physical health and mental health are highly correlated together.
100%, yeah.
I don't think physical health fix everything. I don't think it does. But I think it can, like, probably about 60 to 80% of the problems it can help massively.
Definitely.
Physical health, and then also there should be more of a push on like, I don't know, more of these holistic approaches to things, like meditation. Why are we not talking more about how meditation helps the brain, but like calms you down, activates that parasympathetic nervous system, makes you feel relaxed.
That vagus nerve.
Yeah, and stuff like that. Then you know, like ice baths. Yeah. How fucking good are they?
You were saying about that earlier. Yeah.
Yeah, like there's so many benefits to that, and then like just things like why are they not talking about like journaling? Simple things.
Just simple things like that. There's a really good book I read. It's called How to Do the Work by Nicole LaPera, I think is her name. She's on Instagram. She's like the holistic psychologist. You've probably seen her on Instagram, but she talks about like all this. She's like a holistic psychologist, and she kind of like relates it all back to your childhood experiences as well. Like, do you not feel like it kind of all, when you look at like maybe like how you are today, like do you not think it, like I always just think about like my childhood experiences and how that's really like shaped why I am the way I am.
Yeah, 100%. When I was seeing my therapist in Australia, and we like, it was things like just things I'd never put two and two together.
You would never until you go to actually speak to someone about it.
Yeah, and they were laying things out to me about like family dynamics, and I was like, you're so right.
Yeah.
And I couldn't believe it. But then, like, on journaling, when I started, because when I first was like looking to do it, I was like, this is
isn't gonna work.
bullshit.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no way this is gonna work. And then I did it, and I forced myself to do it for like 30 days. And then when I read back some of the stuff I'd written down, I was like, oh my God, this seriously works.
Yeah, it does.
And it doesn't, I'm not going to say it works for everyone, because I don't think it does.
Yeah, I don't think it works for everyone. Like, I feel like with me especially, like I fall in and out of journaling. Like I find it really hard to stay consistent sometimes with things, but I think with journaling, what's so good about journaling is it's so easy to pick back up.
Yeah. See, mine, I've picked up a few things from different people with mine. So I used to just write stuff down, like just write how I felt. But now I'll do like, so I spoke to a guy, Will Copestake, he's like an adventurer and stuff from Scotland, and he said, so on his expeditions he'll give himself like a mood score, so out of 10. So I was like, I'm just going to start doing that on a daily basis. And that is class for me, like, because if I'm consistently below a 5, I'm like, why am I below a 5?
Why below a 5?
You can then read back and be like, oh, it's because of this.
That's why.
Yeah, and there was that, and then with Alex Cleary, the one who I interviewed in Belfast, he was like, he just writes 3 things that he's grateful for a day.
Yeah, gratitude. So just reminding yourself to be grateful, like that's so important.
Do you know how hard that is?
Yeah, very hard. Yeah,
It's fucking
especially when you're going through it, especially.
But it's that thing if it really makes you think of like, what actually am I grateful for?
Yeah,
and especially when you've been when you're in a bad headspace, like it's the hardest thing on this planet to think of anything that you're grateful for. But what do you do currently? Because obviously you said you're in and out of journaling a bit, but what do you do currently to like sort of keep yourself going and just like keeping you on a level which is like you can function normally and stuff like that?
I think what you touched about earlier about like the correlation between like mental and physical health, I've noticed such a massive difference from I started like properly training again in the gym. Like my mental health has just like been there. Don't get me wrong, I think with mental health and everything in general, like it's always going to be you'll have your highs and then you'll dip again and then you might be at the bottom for a while and then you're back up. Like it's very much like not a straight line upwards, but I've noticed like definitely a steady incline from being back at the gym. I think as well it's movement, like, and I've spoken about this on my page, like I found like movement for me has done so much better than what any tablet or any sort of like antidepressant or anxiety medication could have done, because you're surrounding yourself with like-minded people and you're working on yourself and you're working on your body and you're building these relationships. So I think being back at the gym 100% has just movement in general and running as well. Like I'm really, and I haven't obviously apart from the run we went on earlier, but there was like a point like where I was like properly running flat out. But I just find moving my body in general contributes so much to like my mood and like how I'm gonna feel. Like I know that if I haven't been to the gym or if I haven't been out in a running away, like I'll notice that I'm a lot more like down and sad.
I completely agree. Like I notice all the time if I've not moved properly in a while. Like after surgery, I struggled because it was like
the recovery and everything.
Couldn't do anything, and it was just that because it's so pivotal to me and how I function. Yeah. That not being able to move, I was just like,
struggling with it.
What do I do?
What are you gonna do?
Yeah, but what I'm interested in actually is because like. Again, you said you were like 17 stone. I'm still wondering how the fuck you weigh 17 stone. But like, take me to the day where you decided like I need to make a change, and what was the thought process during that, and what was the first step you took to making that change?
I think a big factor in it was I got into a relationship, like my first proper like boyfriend during lockdown. So we kind of we kind of spent a lot of time together. And I feel like at that point in my life, like I said, I was pushing like 17.5 stone. Like I was the heaviest, like the most unhealthy I'd ever been. And in hindsight, like looking back, I think it was a very like unhealthy relationship, and I think for me it was just like I was getting my happiness from someone else rather than getting my happiness from me. So I think it was the beginning of 2021. Bad times. And I had kind of gotten out of that relationship. Because it was causing me a lot of anxiety and a lot of unhappiness, and I just knew that I needed it. Just wasn't serving me anymore. So I think like the beginning of 2021, once I got out of that relationship, I was just absolutely miserable. And like I said, I'm fine saying this, but I did hate myself. I didn't feel attractive. I didn't feel good about myself. I just was a very unhappy person. And I don't remember the exact clicking moment, but I do remember the day, standing on the scales. I hadn't weighed myself in a very, very long time. And we have a set of digital scales in our bathroom. And I remember standing on the scales because I've kind of struggled with my weight on and off from I was about 16. Like I said earlier, I started on Slimming World, and I'd been with personal trainers before, and I had lost weight before, but never capped it off. That's what I kind of struggled with the most, was consistency of keeping the weight off. I never could get myself into a good routine. So I think it was standing on the scales and actually seeing it in front of me, and I was kind of no. I was I need to do something. No one else is gonna do this for me.
Yeah, I feel like when people get, because obviously I've never experienced I've never been through a weight loss or anything like that, but I feel like it's the same for everyone. It's seeing that objectiveness of the number on the scale is because you kind of know it. You know you're there or thereabouts, but it's the actually seeing that number is the way I've had it described to me is it's almost heartbreaking, because it's actually real. What you thought could be real is there.
And I think it was very heartbreaking for me, especially because I'd obviously been up and down and stuff with my weight before, and I feel like we put a lot of emphasis on numbers, especially with training and weight loss and stuff like that. And I'd obviously recall times where I was very much lighter than that. So I think seeing that was just oh my god, I'm way past, I'm so far back now. And in the past I had been later than that, if you know what I mean.
So what was it about this time that helped you keep it off?
I think it was just, I was also, so around the time that I was going to the gym, this was kind of, I think we were still kind of in a sort of lockdown sort of thing, but one of my friends at the time, we were going to outdoor training sessions. So I think it was just the trainer at the time, I really clicked with him, and there was also a big group of us that were going, so I kind of found that was helped me stay motivated. And also I think around that time as well, because I had just gotten out of that relationship, it sounds really cheesy, but I kind of went on I just jumped into myself, really.
Yeah,
and
making the new year.
It wasn't just a physical, don't get me wrong, it was a lifestyle change, but it wasn't just a physical lifestyle change. I started trying out with different counselors and stuff like that, and I done a lot of reading, and I kind of just jumped into myself completely, not just physically, and I think that definitely helped me stay motivated. And it was just, I think with that one, before I had lost weight very quickly, and I couldn't manage to keep it off, and I found this time I was losing it slower, and I was doing it correctly, by properly training and my nutrition and stuff like that. So that definitely helped.
Yeah. What's your relationship like with food? Because you have posted about it, and you said that you have struggled with that. So what has it been like in the past, and what is it like now?
I actually talked about this recently. I think how I kind of got to the weight that I was, I used to be a really big binge eater. like if I was feeling sad or down or depressed or whatever, like I just love food, and food was just always my comfort, and it's easy. It's like such an easy,
It's
like, and
there.
it's there, and it's like a quick fix. And one thing about binge eating, like I discovered, was like you're enjoying it then, and then it's like the instant shame
Yeah.
that comes like after it, like was just like so bad. But yeah, I just, and I think as well, like with Slimming World, like don't get me wrong, I feel like Slimming World, it works, but with Slimming World and those sort of like weight loss companies, like they're not really teaching you about like nutrition or anything, and there's always like this association with, oh, these foods are bad, or
Yeah.
like sins and like number. It's like, oh, like you can't have this, but you can eat as much potatoes and as much pasta as you can. And then like looking back now, I'm like, no, like
You can't.
you can.
Yeah.
You can.
See, this is what I don't like. Herbalife, Slimming World, Weight Watchers, I think they do have the place for certain people.
Certain people, definitely.
But they really need to up the game and actually fucking teaching people
Yeah,
how
they don't
to...
instill people with like a healthy relationship with food at all.
Because it's all about their marketing of their products.
Yeah.
Like Weight Watchers, you can go into a shop, buy Weight Watchers food. They're miraculously great for you.
Yeah.
But if you were to buy the same meal that was made by Tesco, it's apparently shit.
Yeah.
Like that's... And like Herbalife, like... I remember my dad's partner was doing Herbalife for a bit, and I was like, she wasn't eating. She was just drinking
Yeah,
Herbalife, and it was like,
and
pay shit ton of money for like these shakes. I was like, this is not healthy.
and then as soon as she goes back to like eating like proper food, like that'll, like, do you know what I mean? It's not a long term sort of thing.
And it's there just needs to be such better education.
Yeah.
Because people think like eating healthy is like protein shakes and fucking, stuff like eating a shit ton of chicken, broccoli, and no. Eating healthy can be eating pizza.
Yeah.
Eating healthy is about balance.
I think it's just understanding that like food is just calories. Like, do you know what I mean? And I think that's one thing that helped me with kind of being a bit more consistent this time with the weight loss was food. Like, food is calories, and I feel like I overcomplicated weight loss for so long. Like, as long as you're in a calorie deficit, like you're gonna lose weight.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and that is like, as long as you're moving more, just like filling yourself up with like foods that are gonna like make you feel fuller. Like, don't get me wrong, like I'm not 100% when it comes to like my nutrition. Like, I still love a takeaway and stuff like that, but I've gotten a lot better when it comes to nutrition, and I know there's certain foods that will make me feel like shit, and there's certain foods that are gonna give me the energy that I need to like get through the day.
That's what fascinates me, is when people don't care about the nutrition and they'll eat like a Chinese all the time. And if I eat a
Not
Chinese
all the time. Like, I'd be so sluggish, and
I feel like death after a Chinese.
Yeah.
And like it tastes good, but also
tastes good at the time, but then it's that feeling
afterwards.
after, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's when you actually start to look after your body and give it what it needs, you'll actually begin to understand what it feels like to feel not healthy but feel normal.
Yeah.
And then as soon as you then go back to the foods that you may be like Domino's or like whatever, you're gonna feel like shit.
Oh, definitely.
And it does change your relationship with like the takeaways, because as much as you do like the taste of them, is it worth feeling like shit for so long?
It's really not.
Like,
especially when you can make something like less calories and just as tasty that you're not going to be feeling like terrible after it.
And this is it. It's like, it's so easy. This is what pisses me off about the whole food industry. Is like, I can go to Mackey's and get a burger. It's like, obviously it's gone up in price now, but like I can get a burger for like £2-3.
Yeah.
I could go and try and buy a salad in Tesco. It's gonna cost me a hell of a lot more than that.
Yeah, definitely.
And I'm not saying a salad is inherently like it's nutrient dense, but the point being is these healthier options where it's not as calorie dense. They have these nutrients in them that help the body rejuvenate itself, recover, function normally. It's so expensive.
Yeah.
And now, like, I can literally go get a frozen pizza.
It's
for
crazy,
£2.
isn't it? Literally.
I just don't understand it.
I think for a lot of people as well, it's convenient. It's convenient for people to just grab this stuff, whereas I feel like if you actually like take the time to actually like plan out like what you're going to eat and stuff like that, like don't get me wrong, like I live at home still, so like I get a lot of help, but it's just like being more aware of like why would you want to like constantly feel like shit all the time, like by eating like all this junk. Like don't get me wrong, like have a treat like every now and again, but to be eating like that constantly, it's just like you'll notice a difference as well, like instantly. Like if you start eating like a lot healthier, like you will notice a difference in your mood.
Yeah, it's that thing of just feeling good. Like a lot of people don't actually, they don't know what it's like to feel good. And I've been into fitness and stuff like and eating healthy. I got into it when I was I think 16. So it's 8 years now that I've been into it, and my relationship with exercise and food has not been great throughout that. Like I treated exercise as like not as punishment, but as like I couldn't give myself a day off. I couldn't like I had to go to, and even if I felt like shit, I had to lift X weight. And stuff like that. And that's what, like I was saying when we were on the run,
you weren't listening to your body.
Yeah, I was never listening to what I actually needed. And also I was treating food like, so it's that thing of like it was a bit of a binge eating problem, and I went through a phase where I was counting calories excessively, like to the gram, and it was like if I had 42 calories left in a day, I was finding a way to get those 42 calories. And it was just like, it was such a bad relationship. And now like there's still times where like I would definitely indulge way too much in like
we're all human, like, do you know what I mean? You're gonna have those moments.
It was like pancake day was Tuesday and my dad's birthday was Monday. My dad was like, you're gonna have to make pancakes for us on Monday. So I made them Monday. Tuesday, made them Tuesday. Then Wednesday night after dinner, like, we want them for dessert. I'm like, fuck, all right. And it was like, I ate like shit for 3 days, but I'm all right with that now. Whereas I would beat myself up in the gym to get over it, because I was like, I've eaten too much. I've got to like,
you need to undo all that. Yeah.
And it's finding that balance of.
I was just about to say, as we were saying about earlier, just about the balance of
just enjoy yourself.
Yeah, just enjoying life. Yeah. Like you're gonna have moments where like it's quick and convenient to like just grab something and go, but just need to be able to realize that. I think for me it was more so like a lifestyle change. It was kind of like I needed to implement these things not as just like a short-term solution, but it needed to be like a bit of an overhaul, because like my relationship with food was just like so not good. Yeah. So I feel like a bit like you, I feel like at the start of like my weight loss journey, I was very, very much aware of like what I was putting into my body, and maybe, dare I say, like not eating too much. I actually did become obsessed with like, and I did do a post on this on the page, like I kind of just become not obsessed, but maybe a bit borderline obsessed just with this idea of like being skinny. And I just always assumed that by being skinny and losing all this weight, that it would kind of just, I'd be cured of like my depression and my anxiety, and I'd be like happy in this best version of Curtis. And like even when like I was the lightest I'd ever been, like standing on a pair of scales, like I was still like absolutely miserable. So I think that's where it comes down to like that inner work, and it needs to match up with the outside. Like
it's that quote that I said before. I can't remember for the life of me who said it, but it was, you know, the goal you said would make you happy, you've achieved, but you're not happy. And it's that thing of we put so much on these particular instances that we may get to in life of like, if I lose X amount of weight, I'm instantly going to be happy. Or like for me, it was like if I thought moving to Melbourne, because I'd always wanted to move there. It was like since I was like 10, I was like, I'm going to move to Australia, and I thought moving to Melbourne was going to be me instantly happy. And it quickly, I was like,
it was reality check for you.
Doesn't work like that.
No,
it's
follow shit everywhere.
Yeah, you've got to do that internal work. Like you said, there's so much that you need to do, and so much that you need to understand about yourself, because the worst thing is now we don't understand ourselves at all. We spend so long engrossed in phones, engrossed in TV. We're lost in who actually we are.
Who we are, 100%. I think as social media, as you said, I think there's a big part of like just wanting to present like this like perfect life
Yeah.
and stuff like that. And I think that was another goal of the page, was to just kind of be like, life isn't like, it's so like, life is hard.
Yeah.
But I think one thing that I've come to realize is like, we can make it less heavy, and we can make it like less, do you know, we can just like, we can deal with things, but there's certain things that we don't need to deal with.
Yeah.
Like, we can just kind of go with the flow and take a wee step back and be like, right, I don't need, like, this is your stuff. Like, I'm going through like my own things. Like, you don't need to be so heavy and so down all the time. Like, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think with socials it's so hard, because you do have all these people who are like projecting perfect life at you. And I struggled with that a bit, where I would used to, I think like it's had its benefits, but it's also like it's being of the age of social media. Like, Instagram was out when we were like teenagers.
Yeah.
And you know, we got to see other sides to the world that we would never have seen without it. And like, I got
It's like being a fly on a wall of like your favorite people almost.
Yeah, but it's not just that. It's like they're going to these incredible places, and for me, that was like, I was like, I have to go to these places, and it was great because it made me realize that there's more to the world than where I was right then.
Definitely.
But there's also the comparison aspect, where you then are like, I'm not doing enough because this person's doing all of this and they've got this amount of money, and they're like, you know, they can experience all this, and I can't afford to do this or that. And it's like, it's added the, like, comparison was a thing anyway, but it's because we can just sit there alone. Like, you know, when you're on social media, you're not really discussing with anyone what's going on. You just sit with your thoughts and you're like, fuck, I could be that, or I could be this, or why am I not doing this?
I think it's that whole thing as well. Like, people, especially in this day and age, like, it's just, people just aren't content with what they have. And there is this culture, and I think especially like big companies and stuff like that, they're always kind of marketing to you like, you could be having this or you could be having this. And I think people just need to kind of, like we say, like, just practicing gratitude and stuff like that, and just being a bit more thankful with where you are now, and like with what you have. Like, you don't always need to be chasing like the next thing or like something better. Like, you can find gratitude and happiness just with where you are now and like with what you have now.
Yeah, this is it. Like, this has been probably one of the biggest things I've learned in the past year, is I wasn't grateful for anything, because I was always chasing. It's like when I found out I'd got my PhD, it was a massive thing. Like, not everyone gets that opportunity. No, not everyone gets there, and also not everyone gets like told like, you can move to Australia, you don't have to do like the working holiday visa. Like, I had like a full visa, and at the end of it I could have had like citizenship, and I didn't celebrate that. And like, when I moved into my first apartment with my ex, I didn't celebrate that. I was just
celebrate all your small wins. 100%.
And now I'm like fully on it, like, just
even the smallest thing, like,
because like, if you don't celebrate them, you're just constantly looking.
You're not going to appreciate them then.
Yeah,
if you don't celebrate them.
That's it. I didn't appreciate anything, and because I remember at the time my ex was like, "Why are you not happy we've got this apartment?" I was like, "I am, but I wasn't," and it was like, and it was because I couldn't allow me, because I wasn't at the place I wanted to be.
Yeah.
I was just like, I couldn't be happy for me, and now I'm like, I'll do like little things that I'm like, fucking get in me, like, this is class. And you know, like,
sometimes even it's just getting up out of bed and surviving that day. Like, be proud of that sometimes.
Exactly. Like, and it's stuff like,
it doesn't always need to be like a material thing, or we don't always need to put so much importance into like possessions, and like, do you know what I mean? Like, it could just be something as simple as getting out of the bed, like, and making it through work that day, like, well done you, sort of thing.
Exactly. Like, you've had a shit day at work, you've got through it, fucking celebrate that. Like, everyone needs to just, it's all about the small wins. Because you can celebrate, if you can celebrate the small wins, you can definitely celebrate the big wins.
I feel like if you celebrate the small wins, you'll appreciate the bigger wins a lot more when they come.
Yeah, exactly. And it was like, when I, like that, where I got the PhD, I just didn't appreciate it. But then when I got my job, the job that I do now, Oh my god, there's a video on my phone of me, and I'm just going fuck it, like, because I just send videos to my mates and stuff of
Yeah.
like just shit, and there's a video of me. I pick up my dog. I'm like, he fucking got the job, like, and it's like the difference.
I love that for you though.
Yeah, it's just that difference. Because I'm very introspective in a way where I'll look at that and I'll be like, fuck, I'm so different to how I used to be.
Yeah.
And it's I feel like it's just allow that. Like,
Yeah.
don't ever think, because I used to think like, oh fuck, why do people film themselves and this and that? And I'm like, I film myself all the time.
Yeah.
Chatting absolute shit.
Some of my friends are like Curtis, like, put your phone up. But sometimes I'm that friend. I like being able to like look back at just memories and stuff like that, and like where you've come.
Yeah, this is it.
Yeah.
This is it. It's like, I like that because like that little Instagram that page that I started. It's to look at the memories because I can take pictures and stuff, and it's fun and it's good, like all good. But like when you're telling your own little story of a situation, like in a video, and you're putting like all these different clips together that you would usually just look at, like they're like 20 seconds long. You're like, flick through that. But if you actually piece a story together,
You're remembering it all.
yeah, you look back at it, you're like, fucking hell, that was good.
I think that's the good thing about like the Instagram in general, as well as especially with like my mental health page. I'd say like maybe 99.9% of the posts that I've posted, I can remember how I was feeling and kind of what I was going through at the time when I was posting that. So it's kind of sort of a good thing as well that you're able to kind of look back at it and be like, right, well, I was feeling shit that time and I got through it before, so I'll get through it again.
Yeah, this is it. You've and it's when you're going through a bad situation, I think you have to really appreciate every little step you take to get to be the better person you want to be and the healthy
Be a better
person.
version of yourself.
Yeah, and it's cliche and it can be cringy when you say stuff like that. But
It's true though.
It's
so true.
Because if you don't appreciate the little steps you've taken to be that better person, like even if it's just writing one thing that you appreciate down, that's a massive step for someone who's in a very negative headspace.
Definitely. I think it's kind of about just being able to show up for yourself, and like I've spoken a lot on my page about like just like we're not perfect. Like we keep getting sold this idea of like perfection and like this perfect life and like this like sort of like end goal, and I'm kind of like just of the opinion now that it's always going to be like ups and downs, and you're always going to have these highs and these lows, but it's kind of just being about being able to sit in those moments in your life where you're not feeling like the best version of yourself, or you're not feeling like 100% good about yourself, like instead of like that quote about like you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to go through it. Like you need to just be able to sit with like not unhealthy, but every emotion, like not just the emotions that make you feel good, but sitting with those things that are uncomfortable. Like that's where the strength comes from.
Have you read The Obstacle Is the Way by Ryan Holiday?
I haven't.
It's very much about like,
what does he talk about?
It's that, so he relates a lot of what he writes about to Stoicism. So do you know anything about Stoicism?
You can educate me right now, Ethan.
So it's a lot of it's like the ancient Greeks and their teachings and things, like so Marcus Aurelius, like I think he's called Epictetus, like Seneca, these like leaders during like the period of ancient Greece where they basically wrote their own diaries. Like Marcus Aurelius wrote a book called Meditations, which was later interpreted and translated to English, and it's a lot of like they had all this money, all this power, but they were still they were very introspective and trying to make themselves better people. That's what it's about essentially. And so Ryan Holiday relates a lot of what he writes about to their teachings. Like his books are incredible. Like he has one called The Daily Stoic, which is it's a quote a day for the entire year. So a quote is attached to the day of the year, and each month has a theme. And then he interprets that for you to like, so when you're reading it, and it's like you're just reading a page a day. It's easy as. And he wrote The Obstacle Is the Way, and it's literally about how these ancient Stoics, even then, they were talking about like you can't go over it, you can't go under it, you have to just go through it. The obstacle the obstacle in the way is the way, essentially. And that's one book I would recommend anyone to read, because it's just so insightful and so, I think, powerful in that way.
Yeah.
You get me?
Definitely.
That's me saying if you get me, like we said before.
No, do you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, it was like, there's a book I'm reading at the minute. Oh shit, what's it called? It's in my bag. It's in my bag. It's basically about, my friend told me about it, and it's shit. Why is that's gonna bug me now? That's really
you're gonna have to get it out of
that. Yeah. So it's basically about like this young shepherd it's written by a Brazilian guy.
Is it fictional? Sorry.
Yeah, it's fictional.
Fiction? Okay.
Yeah, so it's about this like young shepherd, and he basically feels like there's more to life than living where he's living, and he has this dream of like this like hidden treasure, but he doesn't quite know how to get there. Okay. So he decides he's going to become a shepherd because his family wanted him to become a priest. He was like, there's more to life than being here and being a priest. So he becomes a shepherd because it allows him to travel, and he's basically so fixated on the treasure at the end that he doesn't appreciate any of his journey.
Right.
Yeah, and it's for me, like, it's just a really nice, warm story about just appreciate the little things that happen along the way.
Yeah.
Because, like, again, it's going back to that.
Make you who you are, like, I guess, at the end of the day.
Exactly, and if you don't appreciate those little things, how can you appreciate the big
anything?
ones?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So, what books have helped you the most when you've sort of, like, been going through what you've been going through? Because you obviously do read a lot, so...
I think especially when I got out, I have a friend that's a counsellor, and when I got out of that relationship, they kind of like kicked everything off. There was a book I read, I don't know, I can't even remember who wrote it, but it's called Attached, and it talks all about like your attachment styles within like relationships, and why people be like, I think for me it was just really validating after getting out of that relationship. So the book talks about attachment styles and like attachment theory, and are you anxiously attached? So there's being anxiously attached, so you can be anxiously attached, avoidantly attached, or you have secure people who are just very secure in the relationship. So I think that was definitely one that helped me. That episode that Karen was on, Lost Connections, I read that, I think maybe the start of 2020. Really enjoyed that. And just how that talked about like we're so disconnected from just everything, really. And I think that one definitely helped me with getting connected more so to like my creative side. And I think like it kind of helped give me a purpose, almost. Like I feel like we kind of like lack, not that everyone needs a purpose, but I feel like just having like goals and stuff like that like really help. How to Do the Work, that one that I mentioned earlier, that one kind of talks all about like ACEs, so like adverse childhood experiences, so basically like early childhood trauma, and how that is like stays with you as an adult and affects like the relationship, like not even just romantic relationships, but every relationship you have as an adult. How the things that happen to you in your childhood or like stay with you until you actually address them. That one, like, I know it sounds cheesy, that one completely like did change my life, and because I was able to look back at like things that had like happened in my childhood, and I was able to be like, right, okay, so this is why I'm very like anxiously attached, or this is why I'm always seeking XYZ. That one I think I would recommend to everyone, like How to Do the Work, Nicole LaPera. She's a really good Instagram page. She posts a lot just about relationships and just like mental health in general, and just a lot of like good content.
Have you ever read Matthew Perry's memoir?
No, I've heard it's good though.
So that I think is a book everyone should read, because not because of the stories in it are great, but then it's a bit like there's a bit in it where I'm like, you're so far removed from what reality is that you just like you would say things about money where I'm like, you have no idea.
No idea, mate.
But there's the lesson that I took from it, which I thought was really powerful, was that it does not matter how much money you have or how many people love you, and or you could like he was in at the point in life he could have anything he wanted, and he could have it now. He could have it 5 minutes ago if he wanted it, and he was just never happy. He was never happy within himself, and it just proves like there is nothing external
that will ever 100%.
Yeah,
it is an inside job, like.
Yeah, like you can buy anything, you can buy everything you want. You can buy all the makeup you want. You can buy all the like camera equipment you want. Whatever you think it is that's going to make you this better person. But if you do not do the work and you do not figure out who you are, what the problem is, and how you're going to overcome that, you don't stand a chance.
I think it's important to mention as well, like that's an ongoing process. Like that's like, I think a lot of people have this idea of like getting to like this end goal sort of thing, and maybe they think that like by going to counselling they're going to be cured, and like I don't think that's the case. I think it's kind of like being able to understand and learn that we're constantly growing as people. Like I look back at like the person that I was maybe like 3-4 years ago, and I don't recognize that person anymore. But I know that maybe like 4 years in the future, 5 years in the future, like I might feel the same about like this situation. I think it's just understanding, we're growing, we're always learning and unlearning about ourselves, and we're gonna have like different experiences, or they're gonna have different impacts on our lives, and just kind of like really learning to just kind of like, I know it sounds cheesy, but ride the waves and just kind of like go with it. And go on ahead.
I just think like this is one thing I say to anyone is, don't think if you overcome mental health problems that they'll never come back.
100%.
If you suffer with mental health problems now, you will
suffer with it for the rest of your life.
And this is the thing, it's about maintenance, and the reason you were in the place you were in is because you didn't know how to maintain it. It's like having a car but no mechanic. You got no fucking clue what to do with that thing, and eventually that thing's going to break down if you don't learn what to do. And if you learn the little things like how to change the oil, how to do the air in the tires, where the water goes, all those little things, you're going to be able to keep the car running. And then eventually you can learn more things, the more complex things that will like literally save you when you get to those moments. And it's just about building a bank of things that work for you. If it ever comes to that worst case scenario, you know exactly what you can do to get out of it.
I think it's really important having a good network of people around you. Like I know you said earlier, you have good friends, and like you're able to sit and have like honest conversation. Like, and I feel like I'd be lost, especially like the past year.
I'd have no clue what I'd do.
Honestly, what would we do without our friends? Like, I'm very thankful to have. I feel like their friendship comes with levels, and I feel like you have like friends that just get it, and you have friends that you can just sit down with, and it just feels easy. And you can just talk about anything, and it's like it's safe. You don't feel judged. Like that's just, it's so helpful in that sense.
I do like it because when everything happened for me, I was obviously on the other side of the world, but just having like my mates call me and just sit and just chat to me, and I was crying on the phone to them. Like,
love a good cry.
I do,
get
but
it
also
out.
It's like shit.
Maybe not by yourself when you're sitting on beach.
Oh Christ! Like it was one of those, like it was just that thing of like, so one of them, Ben, he's not like, he's terrible at texting, but like when you're with him in person, he's just class.
He's great.
But like I remember him FaceTiming me, and I've never FaceTimed him, and I was like, nah, that's a good mate. When they never ever do something and they'll do it then.
Then. Yeah, definitely.
And it's those little things like when your mate's just willing to do those little, take those little steps just to help you. I don't think I'd have got through what I went through if I didn't have my mates there with me, because and like now it's like simple things like you just go around to the house, and it's like as soon as you're there with them, it's like a weight is lifted.
I feel like a lot of people, well, not a lot of people, but it's just about listening. Like, I feel like sometimes, not that we trauma dump or whatever, because I do try to be a lot more aware of, like, if I do need to talk about something or if I am feeling a certain way. Like, I wouldn't just necessarily, like, blurt. Like, I always want to make sure that, like, who I'm, like, speaking to, like, has the capacity for it. But I think sometimes a lot of people think that, like, they need to offer you a solution, or they, like, need to, like, fix your problems, and it's not about that. It's just about, like, being able to have that space where you can just be listened to and just be heard. Like, I don't want, like, a solution, and I don't want you to fix, like, XYZ. Like, sometimes you just need, like, those moments to just, like, unload and just get it out, and then you find that, like, you are, obviously everything's not, like, fixed, but you do feel a lot better.
Yeah, it's when you keep it in, it adds weight, and eventually
Unnecessary weight.
it's like carrying a backpack. Like, you can add a kilo, it's fine. You can add 2, you can add 10, you can add 20, but eventually that you're gonna fall over.
You're gonna break your back.
Yeah, something's gonna happen. You're gonna be, and like, but it won't happen lightly. It will crumble. Everything will crumble.
Yeah.
So it's about, like, before you add that kilo, what can you do to prevent that? And it's just that, you know, if it is just, like, not trauma dumping, but you just, like, basically talking at someone for 10 minutes, do it. Just do it. Like, and there's no shame in that.
No.
And also, if the people around you are making you feel shameful for the fact that you've just done that,
They're not a good friend.
not good mates.
Yeah.
Get new mates.
Yeah.
Go find new people.
Get new mates.
Yeah, and like, that is hard to do. It is hard to do,
Yeah.
but that's the work you've got to do. Like, you have to look at your circle. Is your circle good for you? Like,
Do these people, like, speak highly of you, like, when you're not there? Like, do these people, like, allow you the space to just kind of, like, be authentically yourself? And I feel like you know who those people are.
yeah, and it's like, when I was younger, I, like, had a group of mates in school, and I didn't speak to them for probably 4 years or something, because I was just like, I remember sitting there, I was like, they just don't do it for me.
Yeah.
Like, there was just the way they had
They just weren't the vibe.
Yes, well, the way they had their life sort of not planned, but the way they were going,
That direction.
I was like, that's
not for me.
completely opposite to what I want. So it's just, it was hard to do that, and, like, there was a few years where I was like, struggling to make mates and stuff at uni and what have you, and it was a full learning process.
Yeah.
It took years, but now it's like, I know exactly the kind of person I want around me.
Yeah.
And, like, now, I get to do this, and I get to meet people like you, where it's like, we were instantly just fucking mates. Instantly, it was
just
like
click.
yeah, and it's like stuff like that, and I'm like, yeah, that's the kind of person I want around me, because it's
definitely.
like, yeah, you could, like, if you ever mess with me, like, I'm having a shit day, I'd be like, mate, call me, like, straight away, because
100%.
it's like, that's the kind of people you want around you. It's like, and I want to. My thing is, like, as much as I've, had my own problems in this, I just want to be able to be that person for other people if they ever need it, because, like, you'll feel this yourself, where because you've had those times, it's like, you never want anyone else to ever even get close to that moment, sort of thing.
And I think by seeing people, like, talk about it, like, so openly, it just makes them a bit more at ease, knowing that, right, okay, there's someone similar, like, going through the same thing. Like, this is a safe space. Like, I can just be heard, and there just be, like, no judgment about it. Like, I feel like I'm quite, sound like I'm, like, fucking 40 years old here, but, like, I'm approaching, like, that point in my life where some of the friendships I have, they're quite, like, long friendships. I've been friends with some of these people for, like, a decade now, and some of the friends that I, like, met in secondary school, and I kind of, like, know that they're my people, like, they're my tribe, and, like, we will be friends for life, and there is no judgment, and you can just, like, message them whenever you're having a shit day, and they don't necessarily need to give you advice, but it's just sort of that thing, knowing, like, your feelings are valid.
Yeah.
I'm here for you no matter what, and you're going to be okay.
This is one thing I've noticed when I've, like, when I meet new people, I'm like, they start talking about the mates. It's all like mates from uni. I'm so lucky that I have mates who are still best of mates with, who I went to school with.
Yeah.
Like there's a group of us, and we're all like still really close, do a lot together.
Like from childhood?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like from like 11 onwards.
Love
Like
that for you.
and it's like not really anyone has it, and I'm like, it's so fucking
that's very
good.
lucky.
Yeah, like I feel like, because a lot of people, like, as soon as you get to uni, they realize, oh, you know, they're not really who are, like, the kind of mates I want and that. But I'm just dead lucky that, like, I can keep those people around. You know what I mean?
I feel like for me, definitely from the ages of like when I first went to like secondary school, so like maybe like first year, my whole time at secondary school, like my first secondary school from first to fifth year was just an experience in itself, because I went to like an all boys secondary school. And this secondary school, like, and don't get me wrong, I like loved the teachers, really, really good teachers, but dare I say, some of the people that went to the school, it was a wee bit like riff-raffy, and it was all boys school as well, and obviously like I was kind of like coming to terms with like my own identity at the time, and I feel like I maybe would have been friends with people back then just for the sake of like, because I think I knew like I was gay from I was maybe like 13 or so. And I feel like a lot of people that aren't like within the queer community or aren't LGBT like don't understand it, like, because I feel like for that part of my life, definitely from literally that whole time in school from first to fifth year, like I was not myself. Like I was kind of like always like hating this part of myself because I was like afraid of like being judged by people, and like I got tortured, and well, not tortured, but like people would have made comments, and like I did experience bullying and stuff like that. So I think those years are like really formative, I find, like, and they're meant to be fun, and I feel like sometimes they just weren't fun because like you weren't able to just fully, well, I wasn't able to just fully like be myself. So I think it was when I went to my next school then for sixth form, so whenever I went into lower sixth, the school that I went to, it was an all-girls school. It was only up the road from the school that I went to, but they took on boys in sixth form, and like I knew some of the people, and like I went with like my best friend Connor and stuff, and I just felt so comfortable. And then I think like that was when I was 17, so like I think I was 17 when I came out, so I think then it just allowed me to just like kind of just breathe, like even thinking about it now, the fact that like it was just I was just able to just be myself, and like not feel like I needed to wear this mask, or I just kind of like understood that people wouldn't judge me as much.
It's that thing as well, because so the lad who I went to Albania with, so he's gay, and he like, well, I remember when he came out to me, it was in high school, I think it must have been 14. But he came out as bi first, and then it was like a year, I think it was a year later he came out as gay then, and I think he was obviously still questioning it. But I remember him saying to me, he was like, I don't want you to think bad of me or something. I was like, and he said it, that he was gay. I was like, why? I was like, why? But it's that you obviously build it up in your head that you think everyone's going to be like, what the fuck? Even though like if the good people around it, they'll be like, and like when he said it, I was like, I
think for me as well, it was one of those things, like it was like telling someone that the Pope was a Catholic sometimes, because it was like, Curtis, like we have ears and we have eyes, like we know, sort of thing. But I think for me it was that sort of thing of like actually saying it and like hearing it out loud. Like I remember when I came out to my mum, I don't think I was definitely younger than 17, maybe 14 or 15 at the time, and I remember coming out to her. Obviously, like, it's my mum, like, you know what I mean, and like I've grown up with her like my whole life, my wee mummy, and like she was crying, like she burst out crying, and it was just like not the expectation that I had, and I was like kind of panicking at the table, kind of like similar to where we're sitting now, and I was like what's wrong, like, and she's like, I'm not crying because you're gay. She was basically, long story short, she was worried about, especially like in West Belfast and me going to an all boys secondary school. She just was really concerned about me like getting picked on and like having a hard time, and she was like I just don't want people to give you a hard time and stuff like that. But it's made me who I am, like, do you know what I mean? I think the one thing I feel like I did lose out on a lot of years, like I feel like I wish I had been in an environment or felt a lot more comfortable to come out sooner, because I feel like I did lose a lot of time, but then at the same time I feel like I'm making up for that time now.
Yeah, and this is it. Like I get the losing out on time, because I was a bit, when I was going through like the issues and stuff, and I was like quite socially anxious during like a couple of years of uni, I felt like I missed a lot because I was just like, I'd avoid situations.
You didn't put yourself out there.
Yeah, and now's where I do that. Like now I'll go meet fucking random people and just go,
Love that.
just go chat, like, and like have these conversations.
Well, you were in a cult. Let me have a wee chat with
Yeah,
you.
exactly. This is what I mean. Like, and like, yeah, I get to do that now, but like, especially when you're like, I can't imagine being like, you know, teenager. It's the formative years of your life, and not being able to be yourself. Like, I can't, like, I'll never understand that, but it's great that you can do that now, and you still feel like you can be that person that you want to be, you know?
Definitely. And I think as well, it's just having like that support network around you. Do you know what I mean? And I feel like we're getting a lot better, but I think there's still a lot of work to be done in terms of like people get like, I know I do feel like there is still a lot of like prejudice, and I feel like people that are heterosexual and stuff, I feel like they do get maybe a lot more opportunities than what like gay, lesbian, like LGBT people would. So I think there is still a lot of work to be done, but I feel like we've definitely came a long way. Like my stepdaddy, for example, he said to me, he was like, "You're gonna go to Greece to get married?" Because like over in Greece they've just like legalized same-sex marriage, and I was like, I can get married here. I was like, why am I going to Greece? I was like, I can get married here if I want to. Do you know what I mean? And it's mad to think that like the north, like here in Northern Ireland, like we've legalized same-sex marriage like in other countries like sooner. Yeah. So like we're getting there.
Yeah, this is the thing though with law and politics. Things are a long process, and it's never going to be perfect, especially for something that was outcast for every generation for the past 2,000 years. It's like it's things are much more progressive. Like when I was in Melbourne, it's so like one of the most progressive cities I've ever been to.
Open and liberal.
Yeah, like obviously I worked with a trans population, and I got to like, what I loved about that was I got to see when people could finally be themselves as a result of taking hormones. I got to see the personality change over like 6 months to a year.
Love that.
And it was like people would come
so
in,
special, I'd say, to witness that.
Just the different, like they were like different people.
Yeah.
Like I can't even, it's so, unless you see it, it's hard to describe it. But they would come in and I'd be like, you are not the same person in any which way. And so like, and there was a few who came in where like I remember there was one in particular where they came in, they were like, I've wanted to take hormones my entire life, I wanted to take testosterone, this and that, and then they did it, and then it was like a week later they stopped because they're like, yeah, this isn't for me. And that's where I suppose
everyone's journey is different, isn't it?
Yeah, it's different, and I think that's the way, you know, when I was saying before, like a lot of them, like statistically, trans people smoke more, drink more, are less active, and like I said, they
experienced more trauma.
And most of them didn't have hobbies, and if you don't have things to fill your time and you're sat with your own thoughts all the time, that's going to result in like a lot of trauma and a lot of issues. And I think because like it's quite controversial to some people, but it is what it is. I think we're very quick now. So if someone goes, I'm trans, like even a child, when they go, I'm trans, we're very quick to go, okay. And I think there should be more done to question, especially if they're taking hormones, because there's changes.
That's a life-changing sort of step.
Yeah, there should be a lot more done to question that,
Yep.
especially in childhood. Not necessarily as an adult. I think as an adult, you're free to make whatever decision you want, but as a child,
100%.
there's a lot more that should be done to really protect children from these life-altering decisions because there's some parents who, like, what are they called? Are they called, like, the Saccone Jolies? There's a group on YouTube.
Right.
They have a trans child.
Okay.
And I am fully convinced they just use this kid for money.
For money and stuff.
They
Right,
just
okay.
fucking
I can
film-
imagine people doing that, though.
They film everything about this kid,
Yeah.
like the whole transition period, like the growing the hair, putting them in dresses, like, and I'm like, is this the kid wanting to be this person, or is it you pushing this on
That
them? Because
influence on them.
yeah, like, and also I'm like, how fucked up are you as people to like film this whole thing of a child? Like, they don't get a say, and they could get to 20 years old and hate the fact that their entire life is online.
Yeah, definitely.
Because, you know, like we look at, you know, like you say, Britney Spears, Macaulay Culkin, these people who've been in the spotlight for since childhood. Look at the trauma of
Definitely.
being, and now
that they went through.
Yeah, and now kids, like this kid could get to 18 and be like,
Why did you do this to me?
yeah, and like this kid may well be.
I was just about to say, especially something so private and that's so personal, especially to a child as well. Then
like
just putting that out there.
Yeah, it's like this child may well be trans, and if they are,
If
great
they are,
for them and good on the parents, but don't be filming like.
Yeah,
I
it's
just
a very
think
personal thing. No, I get that.
It's just I don't know. I feel like
I'm gonna see it from both sides because I can maybe imagine, like, say there is families out there that do have a child that is young that might be really comforting to them.
Oh, I'm full. I think it's great for them.
Yeah.
But also, I'm just thinking of that kid. You know, like it's a very strange thing to film your kid and put it online, and not have
especially
a say.
with them not being fully aware of like what it is.
Yeah, like. It goes to the level of Facebook, like where, you know, the parents, like, they have a kid and then all of a sudden the kid is everywhere.
Yeah.
And there's kids my little brother is gonna get terrored. So he's 6. He's gonna get terrored when he gets older because there's pictures of him on Facebook of him in my little sister's dresses and stuff. He's gonna get absolutely fucking terrored.
But also, I love that for him. Like, I'm mad.
No,
Like, do you know what I mean?
It's great. Like, I love the way he is because he just
doesn't care.
But it's that thing of, like, you know, if his mates decide one day to go
to tease him or
yeah, it's that thing of he never got a say in that, and I'm a bit like, I feel like there should be a bit more of private to.
I get that
kind of thing, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
and
I do know what you mean.
Fuck. But yeah, there's just it's a very, like, I don't know, there's a progressive nature which I think that we have now in society, which is great in a lot of aspects, but I think it's very toxic in others.
Can be.
Yeah, just the, like, yeah, with certain movements and stuff. I think there's definitely a place for, I think Pride is great and stuff like that. I think it's amazing because it obviously allows people to feel comfortable and feel like who they actually are. But when it comes at the expense of, like, a particular type of person, you know, when they're like I've seen people online, you know, where, like, they're kicking off because there's, like, a straight guy who's there at Pride. And I'm like,
but I feel like
the 1%. But
yeah,
you know what I mean?
I feel like people that know that Pride is for everyone.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it's obviously such an important movement, but, like, I don't feel like we should be excluding, like, straight people. I feel like it's people that are, like, heterosexual and cisgender and stuff like that. It's good for them to see Pride, because it's so important and it just helps make it a more cohesive environment and just a lot more normal.
Yeah, and it's that thing of, like, now I always find it funny when I hear people say it. It's like they say the hardest person to be in the world right now is a cis straight white man, because you can't say anything about anything.
Yeah.
And it's like, and it's that thing of, you see some people online where they kind of like a good one is, like, you know, when you see people interviewed on nights out and there's, like, the women are talking and they say stuff about guys and it's like, if that was the opposite way,
Definitely.
that like
Be questions raised.
like a good one. So do you know who Luke Littler is?
No.
So he is a darts player. He's 16.
Did you really just ask me if I knew who a darts player was?
No, seriously, he's blown up, this kid.
Right, okay.
So he basically blew up because he was in like the World Darts Championship.
That was recent. Was that recently there? Yeah,
so
right, okay.
You know who he is. So
yeah, I know of him. I know of him, right, okay.
But he was 16 when he was in that. He's dating a 21-year-old.
He's 16 right now?
Yeah.
Dating a 21-year-old?
So imagine if you flip that. Do you get what I mean? Like,
yeah.
that kind of thing is like, if a guy was dating a 16-year-old and he was 21...
Yeah, there'd be questions raised.
Not just questions. There'd be people at the door.
People at the door start murder.
And it's that thing of like, that there's the progressiveness in terms of...
But there's also double standards sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's where I think we need to actually make those changes where it's like, hang on, if you're going to hold this group accountable, you've got to be held accountable too.
I get that.
Yeah. But, so, just to, like, because I feel like we covered every fucking base here.
Yeah, we've had a good wee chat. Yeah.
How long have we been going here? An hour and 25.
Go ahead.
I've been going for ages. But yeah, like, I always end with the same question.
Oh, here we go.
This is a deep one.
No.
Yeah. So,
right.
How would you like to be remembered?
Just not a perfect person. Just someone, it sounds really cheesy, but just someone that like embraced their flaws. Like I just try not to take life. Don't get me wrong, I have my moments, but I just really try not to take life too seriously now.
Yeah.
Like I feel like at the end of the day, we're all just trying our best. Like, and we're all just winging it.
Yeah.
Like I feel like no one really has a clue. Like we're all just kind of like winging it and just figuring it out as we go. So I think I would just want to be remembered as just a good person, just someone that was good and tried their hardest and like made their parents proud and like make myself proud. Like more importantly, like I think the only opinion that matters really at the end of the day is that opinion that you have of yourself.
Yeah.
So yeah, just as long as I've made myself proud and haven't murdered anyone.
Well, that's a big
dun dun dun.
Nah, I love that. I think that's great. But honestly, appreciate your time. It's been
no worries.
A class little conversation. But just tell everyone where they can find you.
So my Instagram is at Keep Calm with Curtis. If you just want to give me a wee follow.
Yeah, so go see that if you want to see anything that helps with mental health and stuff like
wellness, just all about being silly and not perfect.
Love it. Cheers for coming on.
No worries.
Big thanks to Curtis for coming on the podcast. I really enjoyed the conversation and I can't wait to go back over to Belfast to see him again and also interview a couple of his friends as they have some incredible stories to tell and I can't wait to tell them on the podcast. Remember to go like and subscribe and share the podcast. Also support Curtis where you can. You can follow him on Instagram. He has a great page on there and it's full of great resources. So go and follow him. And yeah, I will see you next Monday for another episode of the Real Lives podcast.